engineers for day 13 of this 30-day journey to better and more polished home studio mixes. Up until now, we've covered a lot of things that should be considered before the mix, and we've also walked through most of the drum kit in this mix. But today and tomorrow, we're going to be finishing up drums and moving on to the rest of the mix. In case you missed it, here is just a little clip of the song we're going over within these 30 days.
These kings and queens, they all fall, headless back into Destin's unaware just what will be done. Looking for treason and overtake the throne.
Now that we've actually walked through all the individual elements of the drum kit, I want to show you the drums effects buses that I'm using because these are very important to the overall kit sound, and I'm going to show you why right now. Let's open up our mixer here, and I've muted everything but the drums, but what I'm going to do is highlight all three of the effects buses that I'm using on the drums so I can mute them all at the same time. So I'm going to play these drums, and when I mute these buses, check out how much the drum kit actually loses. See, it's really so much smaller without these effects buses in there. And that's why these are just so important to my drum mix. And I use these on every single drum kit that I mix. Let's go over the first one. And this is my Snare Crush bus. So what I've done here is just sent the snare top, snare bottom, and the sample over to this Snare Crush. And I've just put the Devil Lock on here, which is, as it says here, an audio level destroyer. So this is almost a compressor at the same time. It is almost like a distortion module. It really can dirty up a signal. What I did here was just pick the drum giant sizer preset, but then I kind of messed with some of the knobs here. So we have a darkness knob, which obviously it rolls off the high end. We have a crush knob, which is the amount of compression and then the amount of crunch we want. And what I'll do is just solo the snare crush, and I'll bring the volume up a little bit so you can hear what it's actually doing to the signal. Very cool, right? It just sounds like a real dirty sounding snare drum. And then what I'll do is just mix this in with the rest of the kit, just so we have a little bit of that distorted sounding snare in the mix. Very cool stuff there. I really like how this just pushes the snare drum over the edge a bit more. Even if you already have a great sounding snare, some saturation or an effect like that can really enhance the sound. Let's move on to the next effects then. So most of you have probably seen this before, but I've sent everything but our room mics to a parallel compression bus. And like I said, this is very common to do. So you send all of your drums, usually besides the room microphones, to another bus, and you just heavily compress them and mix that bus in with the rest of the drums. And then it doesn't really matter what compressor you use, but I like to use the SSL bus compressor with the attack as slow as it can go on this compressor, which is 30 milliseconds. And then our release is the fastest it can go. So I'll solo this and kind of crank this up for you so you can hear just this over compressed signal that's mixed in ever so slightly with the rest of the drums. Yeah, and we're getting just a little extra transient there from the kick and the snare. And that's really going to, again, take our drum sound to the next level with this mixed in ever so slightly. I don't always do this, but next we just went to the decapitator and we have a little bit of distortion mixed in here. Yeah, dirtying up the signal again, kind of like what we did with the Snare Crush. And now we can just sort of mix this in with the rest of the drum kit. Lastly, for these effects, I always have an extra reverb send for my drums just in case I want to make things a little bit more wet with reverb. I don't always use reverb on the drums, but we have an extra bus here and I did use it in this mix. And the thing is, here it's actually pretty minimal, but there's some good tips in here for you. If you do need some extra reverb on your drums and you want to send things to a reverb bus, don't send your cymbals there. If you send your cymbals to reverb, they're just going to sound washy. The things that you should be sending there, however, are any of your samples. So I wouldn't send my natural snare top and snare bottom to a reverb because, again, that stuff has a lot of bleed in it. I wouldn't send my kick in and kick out to this reverb. Just like the snare, there's a lot of bleed in those microphones. And like I talked about in one of the last videos, I do not gate, but I will occasionally send a kick sample here if there needs to be more reverb, and I'll occasionally send the snare sample here just to make the kit sound a little bit more wet with some reverb. If you want to set up a reverb send like this on your drums, just pick any reverb. It really doesn't matter. Ideally, it should be a room or a chamber reverb. Set the decay to maybe 1 second. I don't have any pre-delay on here. It's 100% wet. And I think in this mix, I'm only sending the snare sample there, and this is what it sounds like. Yeah, and this is pretty minimal, like I said, so mix in with the rest of the kit. It's not too loud. Just a very subtle touch of reverb there to kind of finish off our drums. Guys, if you liked this video or you learned anything, don't forget to like and subscribe. Any support just helps me reach more people and helps me grow my channel, which allows me to keep making these videos and helping people out. That's it for day 13. Tomorrow, we're going to be finishing off the drums with the drum bus, and then we'll be moving on to the rest of the song. So I hope to see you guys back tomorrow. Happy mixing, guys. Hey guys, if you like this video, be sure to download your free Ultimate Home Studio Mix Guide with your go-to EQ and compression settings for all your tracks. And also be sure to register for my free online mix training that I hold a couple times a week so that you can learn how to make radio quality music from your home without breaking the bank.